That $120 trillion global economy is the visible tip of an inverted pyramid. Beneath lies $348 trillion in debt, alongside $242 trillion in idle dry capital. These layers represent $590 trillion in recomposable capital, the sum of every stolen hour, depleted watershed, and unfunded purpose. This capital is trapped because our current technological substrate is fragmented. Nations must distribute the weight of this fragmentation onto the backs of their citizens. The open-source web failed to respect sovereignty or compensate its builders. This vacuum allowed the rise of a proprietary web that prioritizes extraction over stability. Control of the digital substrate for 195 nations has consolidated into just 25 companies. By centralizing data into massive lakes, these hyperscalers create vulnerable honeypots, primary targets for attackers that result in massive breach liability and insurance premiums for every entity. Because nations spend trillions on defensive measures in this fragmented landscape, the costs are passed down. This translates to compounding interest on household debt and a workforce whose time is increasingly consumed by administrative friction. When a system operates on fragmented, siloed ledgers, the market misallocates capital. To stop chasing phantom demand, the architecture of data must be rewired at its physical source. The Sovereignty VPN is a third path. It is a co-built and sovereign system where participants are compensated for the infrastructure they provide. This architecture follows the principles of distributive economics. As outlined in this model, the goal is to keep human activity within the safe space between our social foundation and our ecological ceiling. The mechanism that enables this is called Lock 7, or origin custody. Whether it's workforce files or SCADA systems, your data remains under your exclusive command. We query the record, we do not collect the data. Eliminating centralized collection makes regulatory compliance automatic. Frameworks like GDPR and the EU AI Act are satisfied by design. This changes how AI functions. Agents act as witnesses to attested truth, rather than inferring facts from scraped data. They learn from validated patterns without extracting proprietary property. This approach removes the risk of AI hallucinations and the liability of data breaches. It prepares the network to allocate capital based on complete dynamic truth. The network organizes this truth through the BESC model. It is a loop where beneficiaries, explainers, sustainers, and co-validators rotate roles to verify the integrity of the local circuits. Operating within this model requires 4 actions: witnessing the risk, attesting to the defensive spend, contributing the correction, and finally cohering to close the local circuit. While the S&P 500 averages 10% annually, closing these local circuits creates a 36-to-1 leverage return. This math is based on turning current defensive spending into deployable capital, effectively deflating bubbles without a market crash. These returns have been simulated across 7 global calibration points, including right here in Tokyo. The system is designed to run directly on top of the existing hyperscaler substrate. We start with the hyperscalers and grid operators because their records are the most fluid. By igniting the network here first, we can begin evaporating phantom demand across the entire market. When these ledgers are transformed into a grid-centric model of coherence, the return is biological. The restoration starts with the individual and moves through the family, the infrastructure, and the watershed. We can measure the impact on the human body. When stolen time is returned to the workforce and care is witnessed, human cortisol levels decrease while oxytocin rises. This closed circuit provides a specific restoration proof. By adding up the years of life returned to the workforce, caregivers, and health systems, we find this architecture restores an estimated 14.3 years of human life expectancy. At full coherence, the Sovereignty VPN becomes a nonprofit substrate. The legal containers dissolve, and the network functions as a utility serving the planetary interest. Diversity is the immune system of the substrate. It provides the metabolic variety needed to survive as we expand our presence beyond this planet and encounter new forms of sovereignty. Stop chasing isolated fragments. Join the ignition cohort. Take your place in the hive. Truth starts at your balance sheet, and the circuit closes for everyone.